This week, our discussion focuses on disruptive innovation within sport management. Disruptive innovation, in a nutshell, is a new way of doing business, or in the case that I'm going to talk about, a new way of operating within the same space that challenges a pre-existing mindset. I was a student athlete from 2007 all the way through to 2015, and during that time, it seemed like physical punishment at a practice was pretty common. It wasn't anything that I really ever batted an eye twice about. Um, I never really experienced this all that often, but I did just view it as a way that sport worked. So when I reported for my GA contract this past August, the athletics department overall had received an email from our AD, Troy Dell, basically telling us to cease and desist with this idea of physical activity as a form of punishment. It had come down that it had been recommended to all MEC institutions that they eliminate physical activity as punishment. So as somebody who was involved in sports at a different time, I had to change my own thinking, and for me it was a little bit of a challenge. It was foreign to me. I was scratching my head and like, what do I do now? So based on my own experience, I would say that there have likely been other places along the line that this mindset has received pushback from older coaches, older athletes that were brought up this way. This shift, I would say, it hasn't really affected sports in a negative way. With what has been learned about mental health, this idea of punishing someone for not doing something correctly, it could have been associated with feelings of anxiety for the student athletes, when they didn't perform. This policy change, it not only protects student athletes from emotional, verbal, physical abuse, but it protects the universities and the coaches that are abiding by it from legal action as a consequence of such behavior. One of the examples of this practice I had found was in 2019, Rutgers University softball coaches had forced players to run 6x100-yard sprints in less than 17 seconds for having exceeded meal budgets at a restaurant. And another incident I had found was Lee versus the Louisiana Board of Trustees. There was a lawsuit in Louisiana out of Grambling State that resulted in over $500,000 for a student athlete for suffering career-ending injuries when the coaches forced him to run 4 miles in 40 minutes for arriving a few days late to preseason. So the early innovators were definitely the places that stopped doing this ahead of other, say, NCAA institutions. It may not have been thought of at the time, but the person that decided this was protecting the student athletes, and they were also potentially making an ethical decision. I don't know that I would say Frostburg State falls into the category of an early innovator in like this example, but at the very least, I could see them falling into the very steep portion of that S-curve that our module talks about, where more and more places are doing this because others have bought into it. All along from the very beginning, somebody had to be the first one to make that change to get the ball rolling with this. And we're finding ourselves in a place where, this could be the norm.